Hello, and welcome to the first ever Essential Oilers podcast. This is the type of podcast where we're going to be talking mainly about the Oilers and also the big names going on in the hockey world, the big hot topics. I'm your host of the show, Andrew Bennett, also known as Benny, and my co-host here, Scott Schweitzer, Schweitz or Schweitzies. Whites, how's it going today?
Going good, buddy. I'm excited to start this off. Let's have a good time with it, man.
Absolutely. I'm super excited for this. So yeah, episode 1, season 1 here of the Essential Oilers podcast. We're going to be starting off pre-draft, hey?
Yeah, let's do pre-draft and go with things that we wanted to see before the draft and free agency. So what did you want to see from this team before their big draft day? Because that was the number one thing heading into the weekend.
Well, it was tough to say, man, because you didn't know who was going to be available, because with this draft class, man, it seemed like everyone had a different order other than outside of the top 2 maybe. Mm-hmm. So nobody knew where Edmonton was going to land at 10 with who was going to potentially be there.
Yep.
I mean, I was like, yeah, I thought, man, if you can pick up Bouchard or any of those D-men at that point, absolutely do it, because that would be the perfect piece, is to get a D-man at that spot, and then we don't have to worry about trading away assets going on in the future kind of thing, leading into the summer. Mm-hmm. And because everybody's talking, they need to upgrade defense still, right shot D-man, blah, 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 blah. And I get that, but at the same time, I didn't want to give up anybody. And for the asking price of guys like who we talked about, Colton Parayko, any big right shot D-man in the NHL, you're going to be giving away so many guys.
Yep.
So I just thought, if you can pick up a D-man coming in around the 10th overall pick, I was like, that'll be money kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. Mine was, I just wanted one of the big defensemen. I knew we weren't getting Dolan. That was the only person that I knew wasn't going to slide to 10.
100%.
Everywhere else had big guys' names. So all I wanted was, to be quite honest, I really wanted that Adam Bokvist from the Swedish league there. I thought he was going to be a stud. Yeah. But the only person I didn't want is they're talking about picking up Ty Smith. Not saying that Ty Smith's not going to be a good defenseman. I just feel like the Oilers' depth at left-handed defenseman was just good enough that they didn't need to do that. Yeah. And I also agreed with you. I didn't want them to trade any picks, because there were talks about them getting after Parayko, Tyson Barrie, and the rumor mill that they showed on Oilers Nation, I believe it was, for Colton Parayko was Jesse Puljujarvi and the first round pick, sorry. Yeah. Which I was like, that's it. Colton Parayko's a stud, but I just thought way too much asking price for him. And yeah, there was no really sexy names where I felt like they could dish out, so I wanted them to keep it and do kind of like the Winnipeg Jets, let's draft, stock our cupboards, get everything we need, get some young up-and-coming beast, and then let's roll out that in a couple of years, because you have to draft and develop in this league, I feel like.
100%, absolutely. Just pulling up what the draft results were. So yeah, obviously Rasmus Dahlin going first, and then Svechnikov, and Cantoniemi going third to Montreal. Brady Tkachuk at 4 to Ottawa, which is kind of I don't know, that one was crazy too, that he was going that high. He's good, but I know some Ottawa fans were pretty pissed about that.
I can't believe they didn't pick up Zdeno there. But.
I know, looking at the other guys that were right below him, you said Bokvist, Zdeno, but that's what developed. As we got around to 5-6, when those picks were happening, everyone's starting to think, oh my God, some of these guys are going to start dropping. Mm-hmm. And that's when we started turning, we're like, oh my God, Edmonton's going to have a shot at either, for sure, Bouchard or Dobson, I thought at that point. I'm like, we're getting one of them now, because they're dropping so low. And as it gets to 8th, and Chicago makes a smart pick, taking Adam Bokvist, and then the Rangers take on Krastov. And then Edmonton's lined up with either Dobson or Bouchard. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it gets down to that pick, who did you think they were taking at that time?
Honestly, the hype was around Noah Dobson. He had a big Memorial Cup run, big-time player, played more of a two-way game. But honestly, I really wanted Evan Bouchard, and I was happy they picked the right-handed defenseman from London, because he puts up a ton of points, had 87 points in 67 games. First player to do that in almost a decade. Last guy to do that was Ryan Ellis with the stacked Windsor Spitfire team. I felt that Dobson led the London Knights team. They were they didn't really have a bunch of superstars on that team. It's pretty much just him leading them to the playoff round. And he finished, in the playoffs, averaging 32 minutes a night. And he had the second most shots in the OHL at that point. And just an overall stud. I felt like he's a guy that you need to draft and develop properly, and you will be laughing for years to come with him.
100%. I love that breakdown that they did on Bouchard and how they compared him to Al MacInnis. and with his shot. I thought that was fantastic. You know, he doesn't have the big curved wind up like PK Subban has. He just has such a straight there and back kind of shot, and it looks like it is such a heavy shot. And like you said, seeing with how many shots he put up and everything like that in the OHL second most, and that's a D-man shooting. That's huge. What was wrong with the Oilers, especially their power play last year, is that they were not shooting enough and things like that. McDavid was trying to do a lot on the wall and everything like that. Clefbaum wasn't getting his big shots through like he was the year prior. Like especially like he was doing in the playoffs the year prior. So if you can develop this kid who's a big shooter like that, that will be incredible. That'll be an anchor on that power point, or on that power play on the point there. Being that right hand shot, you can one time him all day. McDavid can feed him there all day. It'll be unreal if they just have to take the proper steps with him.
And if Todd McClellan, you're listening right now, I'd love to see. I know not maybe this year, but hopefully next year, maybe the year after that. Let's get those big right shots going of Evan Bouchard or then Jesse Puljujärvi, just sliding McDavid, feeding those two one-timers all day.
100%.
And I would love it.
Because you know that McDavid's not missing those passes. He's never going to. And it doesn't matter how much they focus and know McDavid's trying to make that play over there. He'll still make it work. And if not, on the odd time when they bite to try and go and intercept that pass, he'll just walk in and shoot and probably score, because he's getting, as you saw last year, the more he's shooting now, like he's gotten a lot better with that too.
Man, like McDavid's just a stud on that thing. So I think that the pick right there for him was awesome. I was just so happy, and especially by the end, like there was talks about at the draft when it was coming down for how many picks were signed. Like I think the Oilers had the pick of Wahlstrom, Dobson, and Bouchard. Either of those three were the ones that I really wanted the Oilers to get, but I didn't think the Oilers were going to get any of them.
100%.
Let alone, I was like, for Wahlstrom, I think he's going to be a stud in the NHL.
Yep.
However, he was kind of the piece, like right wing. We already had Yamamoto, Puljujärvi, and him. I thought it would have been a little much, but you just take the chance on Wahlstrom. Like, who cares? You have too many right-handed shots, which isn't a bad thing in the NHL.
Absolutely.
But when they were talks about how the draft was going in such a wonky way, there's talks about the Oilers trading after that, like how it's worth so much more, and I just was like, do not trade this pick. You're going to get a stud. You're going to get a steal. And I felt like the Oilers knocked out of the park with Evan Bouchard there. So
I thought that was huge. Like you said, this was the draft to keep your pick, just because, like we said, the uncertainty of who was going to land where after the top 3-4, basically. Even 4 at Kachuk again going there. So why not keep it? Because literally anything could happen. It was like from Bob McKenzie to Craig Button, all those guys, none of them had identical draft lists, and that's a thing. So you got to think, in years past, you can almost pick the top 10 where almost exactly they're going to go, unless one team randomly goes off the board with one pick.
Which usually one team
does. And so, I understand, because then you can evaluate that pick a bit more. You know what you're probably going to get. But with this, it was just you're going in blind, so you didn't know what you were going to get. So why not hold on to it, right? I think the Oilers picked the perfect guy. You know, I did think they were going to be taking Noah Dobson, because people were talking about how they think he's a little bit more NHL ready than Evan Bouchard. However, in my mind, I don't think that matters to me. I'd rather have them develop, and I think they did the right pick with Evan Bouchard. I mean, does he have 4 years now in juniors?
4 years in juniors.
So he's already playing 4 years now of a professional style hockey, right? So
3 years. 3 years.
3 years in the OHL, so he's already playing professional style hockey, which is huge. He's a big kid. Everyone always comments on the Oilers Nation's post how the kid already looks like he's 35.
He does. He looks like Adam Sandler right now.
100%.
In an 18-year-old's body. He's a freak.
Yeah, which is awesome. I'm super glad about that. So, I think they knocked it out of the park, like you said.
And the other thing too, like you talked about, was how there's just so much uncertainty, and I was like, man, like you don't know what you're gonna get. And the Oilers had just their needs were there, and I was just so happy once again that they did not trade that pick, because there was lots of people from Sportsnet, TSN, everybody's pretty much talking about the Oilers were trading their pick.
100%.
And I was just so happy they did it. And so do you want to move into the second round pick, Ryan McLeod?
Absolutely. Ryan McLeod.
Another stud I thought the Oilers grabbed here. Guy is a huge centerman, 6'2", 200 pounds. And the big thing that I really like about him is apparently he is fast as crap. Like, just unreal speed, and I hope that I like that he's centerman, because if it doesn't work out, that he can transfer to the NHL centerman, kind of like Sagan did, play the wing once we first started out. Put him on the wing, like he's fast and speedy, like it should transition right away.
Which is what everyone's been saying with the Oilers, upgrading their wingers, needing speed on the wings, having some talent on the wings. I can't believe he's 6'2", 206. He's huge.
Yeah,
he's huge, and if he can skate that well. And a Canadian boy too. That's not bad. Coming out of Mississauga, Ontario.
Yeah, and then in their little pre-scrimmage game that they had, what was it? This last month they had. Yeah. They're showing highlights of him, and he just looked like. I felt it was Killer Yamamoto, and then the other guy who really impressed me for forwards was him. And I thought Tyler Benson was going to be the steal. Like I wanted to see him play, and I thought Tyler Benson did play a very good two-way game that game. But man, like this guy, you could definitely tell his speed and. I just think you let him develop, and in a couple of years, you could have a very good winger on your hand here.
You could have a huge, and that's the thing with the speed that can keep up with McDavid. That is absolutely huge. And yeah, going back to his last season there in the OHL with Mississauga, he put up 70 points in 68 games, so he's over a point a game player, low penalty minutes, and 44 assists, 26 goals, right across the board. The kid has good numbers.
And I feel like he definitely does a better two-way game. Is it kind of his underrated part as well as reading on his draft reports, which I also love. Like the two-way game is kind of what you're needing to see now. Like a lot of guys love just your Jonathan Drouin's, guys that are studs, that just offensive stuff. Where I want to see guys that are better two ways, and that's what they got in a good second-round pick. And that's you usually don't find those big studs that are all offensive in the second round, so I thought they got away with a good two-way player that's fast as craps.
100%. Touching on that two-way thing, that is huge now in the NHL. I don't think, I think teams are going to have to start having at least one core player like Boston does with, obviously, Bergeron. Mm-hmm. He's one of the best two-way forwards in the NHL. Johnny Taves with the Chicago Blackhawks. These two-way guys, I don't think a lot of people who just watch hockey for the offense and stuff like that don't realize how big they are in the defensive zone and how much they prevent from happening, how many scoring chances they prevent. Mm-hmm. So if you can have a two-way guy, man, especially developing up like Ryan McLeod is, I think that's going to be huge.
Mm-hmm. And then the last main pick we want to talk about was Oliver Rodrigue, the goaltender that they traded up for. I'm not going to lie, don't know much about him. Watched a couple of his highlight videos on Oilers Nation where they tweeted out about his stats and his highlight film. Seems like a good guy, and the one thing that I really loved about him is, and I know a lot of people roasted him for this, is that his dad's the goaltending coach of the Edmonton Oilers. But if you're paying a man money to develop your goaltenders, and you put your time, effort into this guy with Cam Talbot, all one of your most valuable assets, like your goaltending, and you get a chance to get his son, a guy that he has developed for 18 years now, why wouldn't you want that carrying forward? He's going to model the game after how his dad envisions it.
100%.
And if you're putting your money into that guy, and you love the way that he visions the game, his son should do just the same for you. And I think it will work out really well for the Oilers. And I thought it was a really good pick. A lot of people hated it. I thought it was a stud pick.
100%. I totally agree. I think that's huge because he's going to be able to, model, his dad's going to be able to give him coaching outside of the organization, developing him. That he can develop him all off season because they'll be together. Mm-hmm. After team skates and everything like that, he can hone on this kid's skills so much. Yeah. Which is why I think again, another guy that they just have to properly develop, and if they develop him well enough, he could. I think he could come up the ranks. The Oilers have some good depth for goalies now.
Oh, they got Stuart Skinner, they got him.
Dylan Wells,
that's out of Peterborough, that's supposed to be a big-time stud. And this guy, and I just think the other one, too, is they talk about goaltenders being all mental. And now your goaltending coach, your dad, who, knows this kid probably better than anybody else does, he's going to be the guy that's talking to him. Hey, man, he's going to be the guy that's going to tell you, hey, get your head into it. Hey, take a nap. Hey, take a day off. Hey, work harder. I know you're better than that. That's going to be your guy.
Absolutely.
And I think it's a stud pick. And a lot of people I just were hating on Twitter. Oilers going for, the wine club tour again, picking their old boys, picking Dylan Simpson, And I just think this is a stud pick. This is one where I think they will really love it when it comes to the end time. And the other thing, too, is he was the highest ranked goalie in the draft this year. So the Oilers got arguably the best right-handed defenseman, offensive player, which is what the Oilers needed.
Yep.
Because we have Adam Larsson, who's a shutdown stud.
Yep.
So we got addressed that huge offensive right-handed need. Then we got the best goalie in the draft right here, and I felt we got a solid two-way centerman. I thought the first 3 rounds the Oilers killed it this year.
100%.
And, you know, Trelly, he might not do the best at trading players, but you know what? He sure as hell can draft them. And whether you want to give that credit to Keith Gretzky or you want to, you know, keep it to him, I still think he does a great job of drafting players.
100%. I think they did very well this year. They addressed the needs, and I'm really looking forward to see how he puts numbers up, this goalie, for this coming up year.
Yeah, and it's, you know, he's just another guy where, goalies you don't see for a long time, but, you know, this guy, you know, his dad working in the company, I just think it makes a lot of sense. So I'm super excited for that, and I think it's going to be awesome. So,
absolutely.
So now should we move into the point where we're talking about what we wanted to see before the free agency? What did you want to see? Kind of how did you feel about the team after the draft and right before free agency? I know it was only a couple of days, but...
You know what? After the draft, again, like we just expressed, I was super happy with the picks and everything like that. They addressed the needs that they wanted, that everybody was saying that they needed to trade for. So now it was like, okay, now we can focus our attention to the July 1st and the big signing day. And, you know, it was up in the air, honestly, of who Edmonton was going to be drafting. I didn't really know what route they were going to be going on here and stuff like that, who was really available, who we were going to be able to have under the salary cap and whatnot. Because, you know, in June there they did the Benning signing and stuff like that for, you know, he's only at a 1.9 cap hit, which is good. That's right where he should be at.
Yep.
So yeah, you know what? I was thinking, yeah, you got to go. There's a lot of good potential cheap wingers going into this free agency that add depth and speed. You know, you had your Anthony Duclair's who were going to be, once that was announced that he wasn't going to be re-signing.
Yeah.
And then you had like your Tyler Ennis's, who I thought got the absolute steal in
Toronto.
Yeah. Huge steal for a guy that was playing quite well, I thought, in Buffalo, and then when he went off to Minnesota. Then I might maybe biased because he played for the Medicine Tigers and I watched him growing up, but absolute stud player. So I was like, God, these teams are getting wingers for cheap, and that's what the Oilers needed. They needed some speed, some depth for the wing at a good price because McDavid's contract's coming into play. We still had to sign Strome at that point. We still do have to sign Nurse.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, let's see. We'll see where they go at it. Well, where were you at with that?
That was mine. You know, whether people like it or not, we have Milanucci's contract, which we'll talk about a little later. But he's $6 million man. And that is your wingerman that we put in a lot of time and effort and money into. And, you know, when he came out to free agency, he was the number one, the highly touted guy after Steven Stamkos. It was him, the Milan. Everybody wanted him. And they talked about, what was it, like 28 teams offering him contracts, something like that. He picked Edmonton. That was a huge day for Oilers Nation. Like, 100%. It was a big swagger signing. And so far, that hasn't turned out too good. No. But, so, like, going into that, you have Milanucci's taking up top 6 money. So I knew that you had him, Nugent Hopkins on the wing, and then we needed some cheap winger depth is all I wanted to see. A guy that I really liked was Reeder. I really wanted the Oilers to go for him, and then luckily they did, but I wanted a guy like him, just a guy that can have speed, because speed is now such a big part of this game. Yeah. The only thing I did not want is the only player that I did not want the Oilers to go for was your James Neal's. Guys that were going to cost you an arm and a leg, and 100%. It might not be worth it in the end.
100%.
And then he ended up going to Calgary, which, hey, you know, he could be good in Calgary. He has scored 20 goals in the last 10 or 5 seasons. Is it 5?
I think so.
I think it's 5. I can't remember. It won't be 10.
Yeah.
Unless he came in as a 21-year-old, because he's 31 this year and scored 20. But still, he has like 5 straight 20-goal seasons, and like the guy knows how to score. But I was like, he's 31, going 32. I didn't want the Oilers to pick up one of those because as we learned from Luch, those aren't the really best things. Yep. And then, I felt like the defense, like once again, like the Oilers, they were tied in cap hits, and you know, I didn't want them. There was really no defenseman that I wanted other than Karlsson, but Karlsson, he obviously stayed in Washington there for his deal, and I quite enjoyed it. But you know, like the Oilers, they didn't have any cap space, and I didn't want them to go and spend money, because if you looked at the last couple of years, every big free agency signing, they don't really pan out. Like I look at Lucic hasn't panned out. Kyle Okposo hasn't panned out. Andrew Ladd hasn't panned out.
Yeah.
Like, it just keeps going on and on and on. Like, the teams now, they're getting younger, they're getting faster, and guys that get to 27, 28, they get overpaid. They never meet their quota to the contract. Like, 100%. They get these big deals, and it's them not stepping up to the plate.
100%.
So I just wanted the Oilers to get something cheap, worry about this year. And I think, honestly, with the new coaching staff that the Oilers have assembled, I really do believe that the Oilers have the tools in place to do something. Because last year, at the beginning of the year, they were ranked second, like odds second best to get the Stanley Cup.
Yep, it was going to be them in Tampa.
And then all of a sudden, they had the year from hell.
Yeah.
And where everybody sucked. Injuries galore. Power play was god-awful.
Yeah.
Shorthanded was a joke.
Power play opportunities were one of the lowest in the NHL.
Lowest.
The lowest. Yeah, I just saw that the other day.
Yeah, and it was like them, and then like it was just ridiculous.
And like the next team ahead of them, I'm pretty sure it was damn near like 40 more opportunities. Like,
yeah,
it was quite a gap between the last and the second last team for power play opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can't put all the blame on referees and the league and stuff like that. You got to think the Oilers have to start drawing penalties too. It's about moving your feet, right?
Yep.
But you also have Connor McDavid on your team, the fastest guy in the NHL by far.
Mm-hmm.
Who, like, he does get a lot of calls, but there's also a lot of calls looked past on him because I think refs are like, I'm not giving everything to McDavid on the ice, which I can understand. But I mean, it's tough but at the same time, I mean, lack of power play opportunities, but at the same time, on those opportunities, Oilers were not capitalizing on them at all this year.
No.
With just absolute garbage special teams this year. Like NHL history. Terrible special teams. Like one of the worst home PKs, I believe.
Home PKs they started doing it in 1979, I believe, and it is the worst home team penalty kill ever in the history as soon as they started taking stats for that.
Which is absolutely ridiculous. That is such a horrible stat to have. Mm-hmm. That's basically telling any team that when you walk into our building and you get a power play, you're probably going to score.
Yeah.
It's like 50% chance that you're going to score because we suck so bad at killing penalties at home.
Mm-hmm. And it was brutal. And the odd time, like let's look at average in the NHL. Odds are you're getting one penalty against you every period. Does that sound like a fair assumption? I think it sounds pretty fair.
Yeah.
And the Oilers were sitting around 33% at home.
Right.
So that means once a game, at home, they're getting a penalty and they're getting scored on. Because they're going to have 3 a game. And you're guaranteeing yourself down a goal every game at home. That is how bad they were.
Yeah.
Like, that is historically so bad.
Yeah.
And imagine you're in your barn and you're like, hey, boys, we're down 1-0. McDavid, you got to score 2 just to get us up by 1.
Just to get us a lead.
Just to get us the lead. Like, it was that bad this year. So, for going into it, I just wanted to get a couple guys that were fast and a couple guys on forward that could kill penalties. Because that is, I feel like the Oilers' power play will come. I feel like 100%. You have to have, when you have Nuge, Draisaitl, McDavid as your top 3 guys that could pass the puck to anybody. Like, they could pass it to a tea kettle out there. Like, they're so good at passing. And if you have those 3 guys out there, eventually that's going to come.
It's going to click.
We're shorthanded. I loved Zach Kassian this year. I thought he was great on the PK, even though it didn't really show much for anything.
Yeah.
And I love that Jugar Kara on the PK, but I hated seeing McDavid out there.
100%. I think it was Bob on Twitter.
Bob Stafford.
Bob Stafford brought that up the other day with getting back to these signings with Ryder and Brodziak, 2 guys that can kill, and the emergence of Drake Kajula killing last year, Jujar Kara. If those guys and Kassian can kill, that'll virtually almost eliminate McDavid's penalty kill time, which is totally fine with me because, it's awesome if he gets a break. He's not going to get caught and he has a potential we can get a goal shorthanded. However, do you remember that game last year when he took right at the end of the game?
I was just going to say that next man. Ray took that block, the shot with 1 minute left, and we're all like from the office space with Michael. No, God, please, no!
Yeah, exactly.
It
was like, what is he doing out there killing the penalty? And like, good for Connor for blocking the shot because you got the C on, and that's technically what you're supposed to be doing on the PK. So he's doing his job. But Todd McLellan, you cannot have your star player laying down in front of shots. I know that he's old school and he's traditional and everybody needs to get down on the line and blah, 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 blah. But you got to put that aside and think more strategically, because if you're going to have Connor McDavid laying down to block a shot, and I remember that night he was getting x-rays like an hour after the game.
Yeah.
And it came back negative, like nothing was wrong, and it was like the biggest sigh of relief, because at that point I think the Oilers still had some potential of maybe coming back. Yes. We were like, if he's done, the season's over. Like there's not a shot that we're even going to come back without him there. And to think if his first injury, he gets hit for in that Philadelphia game, he gets hit. That's a normal 5-on-5 play. It's an accident that happens. But if he's out there blocking shots, then it's just heartbreaking. That would have been the most frustrating way for him to go down for the rest of the season if he would have broke his foot on that play.
Yep.
So if he can get, and then you know what? That's even less time that he's on the ice killing penalties. He'll be even have more energy, right?
What would be a worse injury for you? Would it be when he got taken down by Brandon Manning and collarbone, or blocking that shot there?
I would have been more angry about the block shot.
100% agree. Because I could hate Manning for doing the dirty move.
Yeah.
But when your coach has to put McDavid out there with I think it was like a minute left.
Yeah, it was the end of the game.
It was in the end of the game. And McDavid's doing his job. That's the coach's fault right there.
Right.
And that's where you're like, damn it, Claude, like you're such a good coach. You're so proven.
Yeah.
Love you and everything. Other than your line changes. They like alter the lines. And your PK, like, that's why I really hope that these next coaches that come in that are supposed to be studs, you got Glenn Gulletson, you have that stud from Swift Current.
Yeah, and then the other one from Anaheim.
Their defensive guy, which I'm super stoked about, to work with our young D.
Who did also I'm pretty sure he did Anaheim's penalty kill, which has been near the top of the league for the past few years. So you got to think that they come in and hopefully Todd gives them the reins and is like, hey, you boys can handle some special teams. Obviously, I'll look it all over, but hopefully he lets them develop their own style and everything like that, and doesn't just try and keep what they had last year with just new coaches. That would be frustrating.
Oh, it is. And I think Todd also has to look at it too. And I don't think the Oilers should fire Todd. However, it's gonna be something brought up. And as a coach, do you want that? Do you want your job talked about where it's like, hey, should it be? No, you have the best player in the world, the best German player in the world.
Yep.
And they have to win. Yep. And they gotta make playoffs. I don't care if they win a Stanley Cup, but this team is good enough to make playoffs every year.
100%.
Don't see why if they happen last year, again this year, you fire your coach and you do something.
Yeah.
You bring one of those boys up, and he has to be looking down at those assistant coaches they got there, and he has to be looking himself in the face like, dang, if I don't step this game up this year, those guys could easily be taking my spot.
Absolutely.
And so I hope that he gives them the rein. They work as a team. They do what's best for the team.
Yep.
And they gives everybody the areas. But I know we kind of fell off track there, so we'll go back a little bit. But I love the two signings they had in Brodziak and Ryder. I love.
Absolutely, and me too. I thought those signings were great. It's just going to add exactly what they need. They need depth. They need that bottom six to be stronger, which that does. Like you said, you could see Ryder moving up to that second line potentially. But I thought those were two great signings. They're going to help out the areas that they need. Also, getting back to your comment on John Carlson with the Washington Capitals, how he would have been the only one you wanted.
Yeah.
Totally agree. He's that right shot D-man that everyone values in the NHL. It definitely helped burden the blow of him signing with the Capitals once we got Evan Bouchard, because, again, right shot D-man, big boy. So it's that's what you aspire that he turns out to be, is somebody exactly like a Colton Parayko or a John Carlson of the NHL. So, yeah, absolutely.
I agree. I loved the pickups just because, number one, they kept the budget less than $2 million.
Oh, absolutely.
For them. And Brodziak's hometown boy, born in St. Albert, put up.
Already played there before.
Already played there before.
Yeah.
You got Ryder, who's drafted by the Oilers, getting played with the German stud in Leon.
Yeah.
And those two at the World not World Juniors. What is it? The World Cup.
Yeah.
World Cup, when they're on the international team, they played together and they had good chemistry.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's everybody on the Oilers Nation, the Twitter, always talks about someone for McDavid to play. Well, they always everybody bashed on Leon, even though he put on 70 points last year. What about someone who plays with Leon that can lift him up? You could put anybody out there with McDavid and he'll do fine.
Absolutely.
I'm and I guarantee that going into this free agency, Leon probably talked to the GM Peter and was like, "Man, Tobias Rieder, we had good chemistry last year. Guarantee throw a pitch to him. I'll throw my pitch to him. We can talk German on the bench to each other.
Exactly.
So much fun.
No one's gonna know what we're saying on the ice to each other. So
yeah, I could set up a play with him.
Exactly.
We could have sauerkraut afterwards. We could do the whole kit and caboodle. And I just think that's a good signing. I love both of them. And yeah, under $2 million for those two guys.
And that's the biggest thing for me. I was pretty open with wherever they were going to go player-wise, as long as they got them for the right amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
I was just praying that we do not overpay any of these guys. Like we were talking about, again, we're not being bitter because we're Oilers fans, but with what the Calgary Flames did with James Neal, I think they overpaid for him when they give him an increase from his last contract by almost $1 million when his points production has went down since the last signing. However, I digress on that. I was just happy with what we got those players for. Because again, it kept room for Strome and the Darnell Nurse signing, which we signed Strome, which I don't think that the actual money's come out for him. Hey,
no,
it's still that 2-year term, I'm pretty sure, and I don't think they actually have a total or cap hit for him yet.
I forget what it was, but they did tweet it out. It was pretty low. I want to say it was in the 2 to 3 range.
Yeah.
It wasn't that much money.
Yeah, no, again, which I was glad for. Yeah, I think you're right. It was like a...
Does 3.5 sound right?
It might actually be on here. We got cap friendly up. Where is it? Up.
Ryan Strome. 3.1.
3.1, which is fine.
And he's restricted free. And Ryan Strome last year, when the beginning he came in, the first thing Oilers fans did wrong was thought he was going to fill the void of Jordan Eberle.
100%.
And Jordan Eberle, to me, what is the thing you think most of Jordan Eberle? Being the clutch player for Team Canada.
Yep.
Coming up big in those big moments and having greasy hands. Well, guess what? He did have greasy hands, and then he made it to the 2017 playoffs.
Yeah,
greasy hands.
And he didn't. I don't even know if he showed up. Like if he was literally even on the ice at some points, he was so relevant in those playoffs.
2 assists.
2 assists.
2 assists. 0 goals.
2 assists in 2 rounds.
Yes.
2 rounds of hockey. Where the first round we went to game 6, and the second round we go to game 7.
Yeah.
So you had 13 games and you only put up 2 points.
2 points, 2 assists, and you don't block shots.
Yeah.
You don't kill penalties.
Yeah.
You are on the first line power play.
Yeah.
And your goal out there is to score.
Yeah, and you almost are out there skating around like you almost don't care in a sense, which is kind of ridiculous considering that was the first time the Oilers had made the playoffs since
he's been there.
Since he's been there. The city was buzzing. Everyone was buzzing. How do you not get up in the morning to want to play and look like you want to play and give it your all? And maybe it was. We don't know. But at the end of the day, he didn't look like it.
He didn't show up to work.
Yeah.
And you know what? I love Jordan Eberle, and he was a fan favorite, beauty
100%.
guy. Like he did interviews. The guy could tell he loved stuff, but he didn't show up when it was clutch. And you didn't play defense. You didn't do your job.
Nope.
And that's the bottom line of it. You're making $6 million. You barely get to 50 points that year.
Yeah.
He had, what was it? There was a cool stat where he got over his goal point production, and he got 8 points in the last 3 games, and I think 6 of them came against the crappy Vancouver Canucks when they had their AHL roster out there.
Yeah, when they actually had nobody left.
And they were just tanking a tank. And that's what I was Ebbs, he didn't come up this year. I thought the Oilers, I thought they did okay trading him. I really liked Ryan Strome at the beginning. I felt Ryan put a lot of pressure on himself.
Yeah.
Didn't play his game. Felt like a void. But do you remember that Boston game where Leon dropped the puck to him and he did that snipe down where you could hear the
bar down, you could hear it from the top of the stadium.
Yeah, and it was and that guy has such a good wrist shot.
Yeah.
He's a very good centerman.
Yeah.
At the end of the year on the third line, he was one of the guys that impressed me the most at the end of the year.
Yeah.
He was winning faceoffs, looking really good,
Yeah.
finding his role, finding out who he was. Kind of reminded me a lot of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins the first year McDavid went there.
Yep.
Just because that was a guy that was supposed to be the offensive lead, be that guy, to then all of a sudden McDavid got there, they're in the playoffs, and he's shutting down Joe Pavelski and Logan Couture.
Right.
And I felt that this is Ryan Strome's new role, and that's what he's going to play into.
I think so too. Yeah.
And so I really liked him. Really, I just felt like this free agency signings, they've done really good so far. And I'm curious, what do you think about Darnell Nurse is going to ask for?
Well, that's the big question that we're still waiting on. I'm actually, I guess at the end of the day, there is no rush for him to sign, really. It'd be rather to have to get done sooner than later. So looking at the Oilers' defense here, you got $20 million locked up in cap space with their D-man. You got Sekera making the most at a 5.5. You have Oscar Klefbom, who if he has a turnaround year and puts up like he was in the 2017 season, for 4.1, that is such a good steal for what we have him in. And we have him until 2022, 2023.
Yeah.
So that's huge.
Adam Larson, who's a shutdown stud as well.
Yeah.
We have him at 4.16, so
Yep.
making $344 less dollars than Clefbaum.
Yep.
And I think he's a shutdown stud. I love Adam Larson. Don't get me wrong. The Oilers did overpay for him with the Taylor Hall.
Yep.
But they did not. Like, the player they got back is so good. Like, he
100%.
has put up huge points. The best stat that I ever love about Adam Larson when he came over was he was the only player on New Jersey when they had the crappiest team ever.
Yep.
He was the only player with a plus-plus-minus of +2, so not that good. However, he was ahead by 20 plus-minus, so he's +20 ahead of the next closest guy.
Yep.
And he played the most minutes, had the most face-offs in his own end, and played the most penalty kill time. So this guy was out there, doing his job.
Yeah.
+2, and every year since then, you look, he has never had a negative plus-minus.
Exactly.
And for a guy who starts the puck in his end zone,
Yep.
hits like a truck,
Yep.
always in the top 10 for hits.
Yeah, grinds guys out in the corners and beats the crap out of them all the time.
And then did you listen to the Spitting Chiclet podcast with, who was it now? And they're talking about, they love how they watch Adam Larson take out guys, because they're talking about how he is the best at, shutting down the area, board rubbing them out,
Yeah.
and just picking them off. And I love that they brought him up, and it was like, whoa, didn't see it. It might have even been the Oilers Nation. I can't remember. It was somebody talked about, one of the NHL, so I'd love to hear that little inside scoop on them.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then you move down to Chris Russell with $4 million. So you can go either way. I think it's people have a lot of personal preference on Chris Russell. Again, I have a little bit of hometown bias. He was captain of the Medicine Hat Tigers, where I'm from, so I like him. I think he's like probably one of the best character guys you could have in the room, because he actually really cares about everything. Mm-hmm. But getting down to Darnell Nurse, you got to think that he's gonna. I think it'll be a bridge. I hope he does a bridge before he signs something huge. Mm-hmm. I hope he does a bridge for like 3-4 years. It'd be smart for himself, because he's only going to get better, because Darnell Nurse is only 23 years old.
Yeah.
So if you can sign for a 4-year contract and 27 years old, then when you're right at your prime, you could sign for a huge contract to lead into your early 30s. Mm-hmm. So right now, I'd be hoping, something safe, something like if he's having a cap hit of like anywhere between $2 to $3 million, annual average. But I think that would be fair for him. What do you think?
I think so. What I think Darnell Nurse should do is look out east. A couple years ago, to when PK Subban was there.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, PK Subban, amazing player, awesome, where Darnell Nurse should dream to be.
Yeah.
However, do what he did when he wanted the big bucks from Canadians. They go and prove it. He signed a 5-year deal and then signed it for 2 years. And boom, then he gets 9 point something now?
Absolutely.
And that's what I think he should do. Once again, I'm not saying Darnell Nurse is close to where PK is, but I think he should look at something like that. Get a 2-year, 3-year, 3.5, and then prove it to me. Go out there and be a stud. Go out there, get your points. Turn into the guy that we want you to be when we drafted you.
Yep.
And then we'll give you the big bucks. And then hopefully by that time, we should have some money to cap saved up that we could pay him. Because I look at the future for the Oilers being built around a couple players. And I think they are Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, Oscar Clefbaum, and Darnell Nurse. And
hopefully Bouchard if he
gets in there.
Yeah, but for guys roster-wise right now, absolutely.
Yeah.
Those are your core 5.
Yeah.
That you move around, because technically that's 3 centers up front and a potential top pair.
And I know they're both left-handed, and you'd like to have the off guy, but I look at Clefbaum and I look at Darnell Nurse, and those guys have the potential to do that.
And the nice thing about those two is that they're not the same style of D-man either. Clefbaum is offensive because he has the big shot and everything like that, but Nurse definitely, he'll be the guy that'll rush a puck up the ice. You've seen him do that multiple times in the last few seasons, and the odd time he scores on it. You're never going to see Oscar Clefbaum do that.
No.
Which is fine. And that's why it's perfect. You can build around 2 D-men that are different. You don't want 2 guys that are exactly the same.
No.
So I think that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't want 2 guys rushing all the time. And I just think that's just the core they build around. So I'm excited for the Oilers this year. I think they've, put the right pieces in place. I really like what they did. Honestly, I know that, Toronto Maple Leafs will get the A+ because they added Tavares for the offseason addition. But you know what? I got to look there and say, man, Oilers did everything I wanted them to do this year. They got a right-handed offensive shot, good up-and-coming goalie, good up-and-coming centerman that's fast as crap for those to stockpile in your cupboards. You got 2 guys that could penalty kill, and that came in at a very cheap price.
Yeah.
You signed Ryan Strome to a very favorable deal, and a guy that has nothing but ceiling because Ryan Strome is also only...
Oh, he's young too.
He's young too.
Long. Yeah, Ryan Strome is only 25 years old.
25.
And so, yeah, again, when his contract's going to be up, he's going to be 27 at a prime age. So if he wants to get paid big in 2 years, he has all the incentive now to really ramp it up and put the numbers up.
And I thought the Oilers, they get an A- for me. I thought they did everything perfect, and I hate to be that guy that's, on a podcast right now. It's just like, oh, I love the Oilers, love the Oilers, love the Oilers. But this is what I've loved. And next podcast we talk about some other stuff. Maybe I might roast them a little bit more. But today I'm all giddles with everything. I loved what they did for agency. I loved what they did at the draft. And I thought they were awesome. So, and what about you, Benny? How did you rank them?
I would put them right at that same spot. I do the A- mark would be perfect for them. They got everything they needed, and they didn't go and do anything crazy, but they also didn't do anything at all. Like they made the right moves. Like I 100% going into that could have seen Peter Chiarelli. They're making a huge trade, like trying to dump this this Lucic contract for nothing, and we would have got nothing back for him, or for him to sit still and make no signings and make no moves and just go status quo into the next season and use the excuse that yes, it was an off year, which I agree with, but you still need to make improvements.
Yeah,
and they did everything right in my mind, and it was just simple, easy moves.
Yep,
and that's what I wanted them to do. I didn't need them to do anything crazy. Instead of being dumb and moving that 10th pick, you keep it. Oh, you get Evan Bouchard. Right? Like it finally pays off for us to like. I don't want to say it hasn't had any luck because with getting Connor McDavid and guys like how well Draisaitl's turned out.
Yeah.
However, I think they've just finally this was the little chunk of time that they did what they had to do.
Mm-hmm. And I look at other teams around the league that, I'm not saying that the Oilers should follow suit with them, but trust the system. You look at teams like who are the top 2 teams in the West this year? Nashville and Winnipeg. Teams that trusted their system, teams that have stockpiled their guys. Yes, Nashville has gone out and made those big ballsy trades that Poli has done, trading Johansson for Seth Jones and trading Weber for Subban.
Yeah.
And you know what? In my eyes, he's won one of those 2. I'd still take Jones over Johansson, and I might be the crazy one there.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, he's still only 50-50. But you look at the rest of his roster, it's all draft and develop. Yeah, he's 100%. Made like the most trades in NHL history as a GM, but he's still a guy that's been there for forever. That's why he had that record. He doesn't go out there and do stupid, crazy stuff all the time.
He makes the easy, simple trades.
Who's another guy that does tons of trades? Gar Snow. And what happened to him? His team sucks. They never done anything.
And look where they're at right now, right? It's because, just because you make lots of trades doesn't mean they're always good trades, but I totally agree. And then, getting over to Winnipeg, there was that tweet that was brought up, just basically saying that the Winnipeg Jets were just like the Edmonton Oilers to the year prior. They had a bad penalty kill. They gave up tons of shots.
Their goalie was bad.
They had a lot of injuries. But like the Winnipeg Jets did, they just trusted the process. They didn't make any big, crazy moves. Didn't blow the team up because they had one bad year. And that's exactly what I think the Oilers are going to be doing.
And Paul Maurice was the guy last year they're talking about. That was going to be that his head was on the chopping block.
Exactly, and look how well that turns around. Like I was saying, they could have been in the Stanley Cup final just as easy, right?
Hands down.
So overall, super happy with where the Oilers have gone this start of the summer. It's been great. I'm looking forward to the rest of the summer. I'm really looking forward to the Darnell Nurse signing, seeing where that's going, and. I think that's pretty much where we wrap it up for this podcast, eh?
I'm down for that. I think, I agree with everything we said, and then hopefully next week we get into a little bit more disagreements with what the Oilers did this year. So.
Absolutely, have a little bit more conversation and stuff like that. We'll go over kind of, some potential lines for this year, power play lines, everything like that. And we'll also touch a little bit more on the actual NHL and some hot topics in there as well.
Yeah, and I think, just remember that, we're just 2 guys that just love the Oilers, love the show. By all means, if you want to be critical of us, by all means, go right ahead. But just remember, we're just 2 fans that not really paid, not sponsored, we're just doing this for fun.
We're just doing this for fun, and, this is just our opinions, and it's definitely not written in stone by any means. So, feel free to disagree with us, comment down below. We're just here to have some fun. So, hopefully enjoyed episode 1, season 1 of Essential Oilers podcast. And we will see you guys next week, maybe.